So I'm Laura Doley. I've been with Resourceful HR now just a couple months. My background is in recruiting as well as terminations. So for the past 4 years, I led the career transition practice of another firm in Seattle, and I got a little burned out from that and decided I wanted to go somewhere that was a little more positive oriented and joined Resourceful HR, and I've been working with Tina very closely as we help a lot of growing organizations with both their hiring and obviously their firing practices are really critical. So Resourceful HR is a woman-owned consulting business. We do outsourced HR, recruiting. We also do temporary HR staffing. And so we're really focused on how can we help our organizations add value through their people and their people practices. And was more than delighted to be invited by Michelle to speak about this, because I think that there are a lot of really important things to know when you're looking at hiring, and how those steps also take into account if you need to exit somebody, because it is a reality. And so it's a good topic. That's my spiel.
Thanks. And I think we missed Mike Stollers, our Director of Business Development at Equinox. So we're going to jump into this, because I know that that's what you guys are all here for. And again, I really do encourage, questions, scenarios, things that have come up in your business as you've started and grown it over the years. So what we're going to cover today, this is our agenda, when to think about hiring, how to think about hiring, best practices, how do you do this right for your business? And it's going to differ from business to business, and you're going to hear over and over and over again process, systems, all of those things that none of us like to do. We don't like to put processes in place that kind of lock us into how to do something, but it really is a best practice. And so I want that to be in the back of your minds as you're going through your own scenarios and thinking about how you do this. The systems and process are a very important part of this. How do you know when it's not working out? How do you know when to pull the plug? And I think this is one of the hardest parts of the termination process, and that is, okay, when we started this, we had some goals or we had some expectations, and how long do we give this before we say, you know what, this isn't right for us? And so thinking about that and planning for it, building it into your process is a really important part of that piece. And then best practices in firing, that doesn't sound very uplifting, but there are best practices. There are ways to do it that are better than others. There's not necessarily right and wrong, as there is not very much right and wrong in any business process, the legal and illegal, which comes up from time to time. But thinking about it to do it right, and someone mentioned that earlier, that you've had to do it and nothing's gone wrong, but are there things that we could do better? So that's the kind of stuff we're going to touch on today. Here are the highlights. I'll let you guys read this as well. So we have Jane, who's the president of Widgets of the World, WOW, an online retailer. And WOW employs 3 developers and an account manager for their business. Jane has realized that in order to grow this business, they need new products, not just selling other folks' products, but they need to develop new and interesting products to sell. And so she wants to hire a product developer, someone to actually build these products. She figures out what the skills are that she thinks she needs for this business, and she posts the job online. She uses Craigslist and Monster.com, and she uses maybe the newspaper as well. And she gets 30 resumes, which in this day and age is not all that many, but she got 30 resumes for this particular opportunity with 2 people that she thought had relevant experience. So people who had actually done this before, developed products for other companies. She interviews both candidates and loves Sally, who has relevant experience, success. Sally talks about the fact that she has built world-class products that are highly successful for prior companies. But more than anything, they connect on the fact that they love hurling and they love the Pacific Northwest, and they spend most of the time discussing those issues and finding a great connection. So Jane offers Sally the job. Sally accepts, but says, hey, for my creativity to be at its peak, I need to work from home 3 days a week. That'll get me out of the office, away from all the distractions. I'm going to be able to focus on being creative. And Jane says, sure thing, no problem. All we need is for you to sign these documents, and let's get started. And Sally joins the company 2 weeks later. So kind of off the bat, are there any things that sort of jump out at you? There's a couple obvious things, but.
Well, mandatory working from home seems odd to me.
Okay.
Right.
check mentioned?
Only talking to 2 people.
Only talking to 2 people?
They hired somebody that they like versus like professionally.
Hiring someone that you like rather than maybe looking at the professional criteria?
Did not discuss goals and objectives and what needs to be produced.
Yep, did not discuss goals and objectives and what she really needs to do. Anything else? Does this resonate with anybody? Can anyone here say, ooh, I haven't done that, and I didn't do that, didn't quite think about that? So, and most of us aren't gonna, you know, all these issues that you guys have raised, you know, it's applied, at least 2 or 3 of them have probably applied to all of us in our processes. It's just, we don't do all of it. So, those are all great points to start with. So, determining the need.
So I think first we always have to look at what happened to Jane's process. So she realized she wanted to grow, and so she just jumped at it and posted a position. And maybe didn't necessarily take the time to really assess, is that need there? Is it a sustainable need? And what is the actual need? Oftentimes we talk to a lot of business owners who, I need to add somebody. I just need someone to help. But they don't spend the time to figure out what do they need them to help them with. And you know, there's a lot of different areas. Maybe it's the bookkeeping they need help with. Maybe it's sales they need help with. And it's really about assessing what that need is. And there's some things to take into consideration. And I always recommend you really start thinking 6, 12 months in advance. And you should always be really looking forward as where is the business going. And the reason you want to look forward instead of today is because there's a sustainability issue. A lot of organizations have learned this one the hard way with the economic recession, that if you just throw people at the problem, you may also have to get rid of those people, and it's expensive to get rid of people. So planning ahead, seeing what that pipeline looks like, is this sustainable? Will this person allow you to continue to grow the way you want to grow? So really looking out, 6, 12 months, what's our volume gonna be? What's our capacity going to be? And then what are the criteria you need in order to get to where you wanna go? You know, a good example is a lot of business owners are the experts in their topic. You know, they're the experts in, you know, Ron mentioned the clinical research. He's got that background in the science side of stuff. He knows the clinical part of the process. So hiring someone else to do clinical may not be the best choice if he has to make a hire. It may be looking at someone to do the books, because that may not be his strength. The same as you get some people who are amazing salespeople. That is where their strength is, and they want to grow the business. Well, hiring an additional salesperson may not be your best choice. Maybe it's finding someone who can do all the back-end marketing, material creation, fulfillment, so that you can focus on where your strengths are. So it's really about making sure you're figuring out what the criteria are, what the skills are that you need that will actually augment the team instead of become duplicate of what you already have. And then the other thing is really, what are the skills that are needed? I think we look at Jane's example, I want a product developer. Well, that's a pretty broad term. There's product developers in large industrial products. There's product developers in kitchen gadgets. So what are the right skills that you need for your product developer? And really spend the time figuring that out. And it's time consuming, it doesn't feel like it's value add, but the more time you spend planning to make sure you're picking out what exactly you need, the less time you actually have to spend interviewing those people to see if they're the right match, because you can easily identify, do you have these skills, ask for questions based upon the criteria you spend in advance. And the other point is really focus on the company goals. Where are you going with it? In the case of Jane, she wants to expand in a whole different aspect of doing internal product development. Others, it's we just need greater capacity to pump out more publications. So we need additional tech writers, or we need more, we just need more sales. We need more consultants because we're bringing in too much business. So it's really assessing, where do you want the company to go? What are those goals? And who are the people that can get you there? Instead of my buddy Joe, who I met at the bar last night, he's a great guy, maybe he can help me figure out what I want to do. So I think it's really important to take a step back. I know it's hard as business owners to find the time to take a step back, but it's always good just to sit back and really assess, where do we want to take the company? What's going to get us there? What's going to complement the skills we have already? And then let's figure out exactly what we need.